In 5D, you're going to have 20% of your soul's power in the physical consciousness. What that means, you know how powerful you're going to be? You won't need your iPhone anymore because you'll have telepathy. You'll be able to talk to rocks, plants, people, water, air.
Hmm.
You'll be able to create matter with through thought. You'll be able to visit the other side and come back. If you want to think about a McDonald's double cheeseburger, you can think of one and it'll appear, but no animal will be killed and it'll be the most healthiest burger you ever ate.
You won't gain weight either.
No.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kirby Valladares, and welcome to Spirit Said So. Together, we'll explore powerful stories of near death experiences, or NDEs, and spiritual gifts. Conversations that may forever change the way you see life. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Dennis Bullock. He's definitely a hero of mine, somebody who definitely got me more into my spiritual side. And before I get to Dennis, let me give you guys a little background on him. So, Dennis is a soul singer and virtuoso saxophonist from Philadelphia, celebrated for his powerful voice and magnetic stage presence. At 17, he won the American National Jazz Championship and went on to perform worldwide with the Stylistics. He has annual appearances at the Montreux Jazz Festival with his band Black Diamond. His journey is also deeply spiritual and shaped by a profound near death experience that continues to inspire his music and connect him to audiences on a soul level. Folks, please welcome Mr. Dennis Bullock. Hey, Dennis, how are you?
Great, 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 Kirby. Thanks for inviting me to Spirit Said So. It's a pleasure to be here, man, and an honor to share my experiences with your public and your audience and with you.
So I know that you've had a spiritual experience, but I also kind of want to start from the beginning. How did it all get started for you?
Okay, well, I started, I'm from Philly. My father started as a Marine and a police officer. He was pretty strict in the house, and so it was a dutiful father, but he but you couldn't really. He was not so emotional, and he would just, what do you want for your birthday here? What do you want for Christmas here? And that was it, you know. Because of his military background. His father was in the military, and my father was following him. So we weren't as close as I would have liked us to be, me and my father. Now, my mother was the opposite. She was like the sunshine of my life. She would wake me up sometimes in the morning and say, "Come look at the birds and listen, look at the sun. It's so beautiful." She was the love and joy in my life until one day she got sick and then she passed away, died. And it was at that moment, it was like somebody turned out the lights in my life because my mother was a legal secretary and then she quit her job to marry my father. That's how it was back in those days. And so she saved for like 3 years to buy me a saxophone. So my mother was pretty much my world. We were so close. And when she died, my world went dark. It totally collapsed overnight. And so I was in Montreal, Canada at this time, and I would go to the bar and drink and then come home, sit on the side of my bed and cry myself to sleep. That was my routine. And I did that for about a week and a half after my mother passed away. Until one night, I was doing my routine, went to the bar, came back home, came to my apartment in Montreal, Canada, sat on the side of the bed. I turned out the lights and I went to untie my sneakers. And when I went to untie my sneakers, I noticed that there was light on the floor. And I said, that can't be. I know I just turned out the light. Now, here is the crazy part. When I looked up, the sun that you see in the sky
Hmm.
was in my room, literally. And I get chills even talking about that now. and it was like a wave. Like imagine if you're in an ocean and a wave cup is too big for your body and it just covers your whole body.
Right.
Well, it was like that, except the water was love. And it was just wave that just washed over my whole body.
Hmm.
And here's another fascinating thing that I didn't mention in a lot of interviews that I do, but I'm going to mention it in yours. While I was later, I found out this son was God. But when it happened, it was there's a sun in my room,
Hmm.
and with all this love coming on me, and this sun, God, literally was sucked all the alcohol out of my body.
Oh, wow.
I could literally feel like it leaving my body, but from my legs all the way up to my body.
Hmm.
And then after that, there was these two stars that was inside this sun, and they floated out to me. And one was bigger, and the other one was a little smaller. And I noticed that the smaller one was my mother. And they floated out to me, and my mouth was like this. I can't believe this is going on. And and I said to my mother, the first thing I said, it's like that over there, Mom, because I knew it was her. I could feel her essence. I knew her. I knew it was her. And because it was like the best way to describe it is like being in Hawaii on the beach. You won $1 billion in the lottery, and everybody loves you times 1,000.
Wow.
That's how it felt.
Yeah.
So I said to her, "It's like that over there, Mom." It was so much love and it's incredible. And then she began to speak to me,
Hmm.
and these two stars came right beside me. One was much bigger, and the smaller one was her. And she said, "I'm going to tell you a week in the future, so you know that this is not an illusion or a fake or a dream." She said, "You're going to get a job next week." Now, my band, we hadn't worked in about 2 or 3 weeks. It was a dry spell. We didn't have work. And she said, "You're going to get a job next week." And she said, "There's going to be a bouncer at this job." And she said, "He's going to be a homosexual and he's going to be a psychopath." And she said, "Whatever you do not get into an argument with him because either two timelines are going to happen." Now, this is the part of the conversation where she starts to talk like Captain Kirk of the Starship Enterprise. When she starts to talk about timelines, because I was like, timelines? She said, "Yeah, there's two timelines that will happen." She said, "The first timeline, he kills you and you die.
Hmm.
The second timeline, you kill him, but you go to jail for the rest of your life." And she said, "One of these two timelines are going to happen if you get into an argument with him." Now, man, I was so happy to see my mom, man. I said, "I'll do anything you want, Mom. Anything you tell me."
Right. Yeah.
Now, my mother knew me. Now, I don't have anything against gay, lesbian, homosexual people. Whatever you feel good with, that's okay. But if you know that I'm not, and you approach me, I'm going to defend my manhood. I'm going to defend myself.
Hmm.
And my mom knew that. Now, I don't look for trouble, but I knew at that time I could handle trouble if it came. So, but my mom knew me and she knows that I'm like that. And she knows that as long as the person respects me, I always respect them. But if they disrespect me, that's another story. But she told me specifically, do not get into an argument with this person or one of these two timelines are going to happen.
Right.
And she also told me that the girlfriend that I had at the time, uh, I've been seeing her about a year and a half, almost 2 years. She said she has three kids that you don't know about.
Whoa.
And she
That's
said,
big.
she's going to try to have a fourth one with you. She's going to try to trap you. So she said, be careful about that. And then my mother, she took a pause. And then I said, but Mom, who is this other light next to you? Because this light was about 7 feet tall, man. 7 feet tall, standing next to her. And when I asked her, who's this other light next to you? it spoke to me. It said, I'm an escort. I'm escorting your mother to the earth plane. And I said, an escort. Okay. I got a few questions for you. I said, I said, my room is lit up like Star Wars right now. I said, I want to know, why am I here? Who's going to be my wife? How many kids I'm going to have? What's life about?
Of course. Yeah.
And what I call this angel, it spoke to me very calm. It said, I'm going to answer all your questions, but you won't be allowed to remember only what your mother says. So it answered all my questions, man. Every last one. But I could not remember it. I only could remember what my mother told me.
So let me ask you this. Do you think, you know, how sometimes we have dreams and we encounter, you know, sometimes we'll encounter people that we know, and then sometimes they tell us something, but
Mhm.
we don't remember. Do you think that that's also similar to the experience you had?
Um, no, not necessarily because when you go to dream, it's usually it's usually because you don't write it down right away when you wake up.
Mm, okay. Okay.
That's my opinion on it. Um, but yeah, that's my opinion on it. It's usually because you didn't write it down right away and then it fades.
It fades. Okay.
It
Yeah.
fades right. If you don't write it, as soon as you wake up, the minute you wake up, if you don't write it down right away, it fades.
It's true. I
Um,
mean, when you get those
yeah,
at 4 in the morning, you're not really focused on writing everything
exactly.
down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So after she told me that, and this angel told me what it had to tell me, my mother said, I love you. And she said, um, you won't realize that I'm around you as much as you do tonight, but I'll always be with you. And then they began to fade out back into the light, back into the sun. And think of it like a glass ice cube in a glass as it
Mhm.
melts. That's how the light in my room started to dim slowly, slowly, slowly until it was dark. And when it went dark, my eyes burst into tears.
Mhm.
I burst into tears and I said, man, nobody's gonna believe this.
Right.
Nobody's ever gonna believe this. Nobody's gonna believe this. Nobody's gonna
Mhm.
believe this. Nobody. But I have the proof. The next day, I got a phone call. It was my band. They said, hey, man, we got a job. Now, I didn't tell my band what had happened the night before because I didn't want them to think, oh, he's a great singer, great saxophone player, but when his mom passed away, he lost it, man.
Right.
So, so I didn't tell them what happened. I just said, oh, that's great. We got a job. Great. Okay. And he hung up the phone. So then the next day we went to do the sound check. And for people who don't know what a sound check is, it's when the band checks the instruments and the equipment, the sound equipment, to make sure it's functioning about 3 hours or 4 hours before the job starts. So we did our sound. I went there. Was a new club, and I went there and I passed these two bouncers at the door, but they didn't say anything to me. They didn't bother me. And I went in. I did the sound check, and everything went okay. So I left, and then I waited a few hours, and then we came to the club for the job. Now I came in the door. I saw this bouncer there, but he didn't say nothing to me, and I just went in. And we did our first show. It went great. The people enjoyed it. And we were on break. And as we were on break, I was talking to the band like this. This was me and this was the band. And all of a sudden, this bouncer walks behind me. And as I'm talking to the band, he grabs my butt like that. And I'm
Hmm.
talking to the band. I go, hey, what the? And he goes over to the corner in the club and looks at me like this. And I said, hey guys, did you see this guy? He just grabbed my butt, man. I said, I got to tell this guy something. I got to tell this guy something. So I was mad, man. So I was going over there mad. And then I said, oh yeah, mom, don't lose it, man. Remember what your mom said.
Right,
Remember what your
right,
mom said. Don't lose it, man. Stay cool. Don't lose it. So I went over there and I said, listen, man, uh, please don't touch me. I'm not like that. And he said, I didn't touch you. You had too many beers. I said, yeah, man, you did touch me, but please don't touch me. I'm not like that. Then he said, why did you tell your friends? And I said, I told my friends because you did touch me. But please don't touch me because I'm not like that. Then I left because the conversation, the longer I stayed there, the more the conversation was going into an argument.
right. To escalate, yeah.
Yes. So I just told them, please don't touch me. I'm not like that. And I left. So we did the second show and the crowd was great. The people loved it, but I didn't stick around because I didn't feel comfortable in that place so much.
Hmm.
So I left. I passed this bouncer. He didn't say nothing to me, just was looking at me strange. I passed the door and went out. And that was it. And the next day, I get a phone call, and it's my band. He says, "Hey man, did you hear what happened?" I said, "No. I left the club. Everything seemed cool." Um, he said, "Remember that bouncer you said grabbed you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, he got into an argument with the club owner and crushed both of his rib cages, killed the
Wow.
club owner, and he's now in jail for manslaughter." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, man." He says, "This guy was a psychopath." And I said, "Oh, wow, man. That is crazy. Thank you for telling me. That's crazy." And I hung up the phone. I still didn't tell him, but I hung up the phone and I said, "Oh my God. Everything my mother said is coming true. Everything."
Right,
And then I said, "If that's true, my girlfriend." Oh,
right, right.
oh no. So I picked up the phone. I said, I got to call her. And I called her and she answered the phone. Hello. I said, hey, can you tell me something? Just tell me the truth. It's okay. I have a question. Do you have three kids? The phone went silent. And then she said, who told you? I said, wait a minute, this can't be happening. No, I know you for almost 2 years. I didn't see not no. Let me ask you again. Maybe you didn't hear me right. Do you have three kids? And she said, yes, I have three kids, but who told you? And I said, I'm going to tell you who told me. My dead mother told me. And I would have been cool if you had told me in the beginning
Hmm.
that you had three kids. But because you hid your own kids, denied your own kids, I can't trust you. So we're finished.
Right.
So so I hung up the phone. And that was the first spiritual experience I had. And that kind of showed me that there's something more to this life uh, than I know. But I knew one thing I knew I stopped drinking because I knew my mother was okay. And that was the thing that had bothered me the most was when I saw her body, when her dead body, it was like a shell. Nobody was there.
Hmm.
But I didn't know where she was because I didn't believe in religion. Even though we went to church, but when it really came down to it, when things really, really happened, I didn't believe in no religion. And but when I talked with her and I saw her for myself and she was fine, better than fine, then I was okay. I was at peace. So I stopped drinking. I didn't need to drink anymore. So then I tried to tell myself, well, you can't tell people this story because they're not gonna believe you. They're gonna think you cuckoo, man. So
Right.
let's not we won't let's try to go on with normal life.
Hmm.
So I did. So what I was doing, I started to follow this other singer. It was a singer, was a band that made a remake of this old group called the Platters. Now, it wasn't the original Platters because
Right.
that's too old for me. But it was a remake of this group, and this singer was like amazing soul singer. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, he had contracts in Germany, America, in Canada, everywhere. So I started to follow him. He was teaching me things about vocals, and I was singing background vocals for him. And one day, he offered me drugs, and I started to do drugs with him because I thought that was the way. And I'm not so proud about that, by the way. But I thought at that time, I thought that must be the way. Look at him. He's successful. He has record contracts. He has money. He's doing well and he sings so great. I
Hmm.
said, this is the mentor. This is what I think I want.
Right.
So I started doing drugs with him and doing shows, doing drugs, doing shows. And then all of a sudden, he dropped dead. The last weekend show of his life I did with him. And then he dropped dead. And for me, that was a wake-up call. And I said, that's it. If you continue to do drugs like him, you're gonna drop dead too. And I said that's it. So I went cold turkey. I didn't go to no rehab or nothing like that. I just went cold turkey. I just stopped.
Wow.
And I just replaced it with marijuana. I said, you smoke a joint once in a while, two,
Right.
two times a month. That's okay.
Hmm.
That's okay. So that's what I did. And one day with my new girlfriend, we ran out of marijuana. And so I hate to say it for all musicians, but it's true. 90% of all musicians, no matter what country, no matter what city they're in, know where to get marijuana.
Good to know.
90%.
I'll ask my musician friends and be like, if I'm in a
Yes,
new town, I
exactly.
know who
They
to
know.
hook me up with.
Exactly. They all know. So I called my musician friend and I said, hey man, I ran out of marijuana. Do you have any? He said, sure. He said, I'll bake it in a cake for you and bring it over. I said, cool, man, because I never had it in a cake before. And so he baked the cake. It was a chocolate cake. He brought it over to my place and left it there with me and my girlfriend. And then he left. He didn't have any. And later on, I found out that he put the whole kitchen sink in this thing, but I didn't know it that at that time.
Hmm.
And so I got a small piece for her, and I got a small piece for me. And we both ate the cake. And we waited 10 minutes and nothing happened. And I said to her, you feel anything? She said, no. Do you feel anything? I said, no. I said, well, maybe we have to eat more cake. I said, I'm going to cut you half. You take the other half and I take the other half. So we both took the whole cake. So we ate it thinking that, we probably have to eat more cake so we could, feel it. So and we ate the whole cake and then waited 10 minutes and nothing happened. I said, you feel anything? She said, no, I still don't feel anything. I said, me neither. I said, must be a bad batch. Must be not a good one. So we waited another 10 minutes and then we started to feel something. But it wasn't like we were getting high. It was more like our bodies were beginning to shut down.
Whoa.
I was talking with her, and then all of a sudden I would forget to breathe. I forgot to breathe. And then it was becoming more difficult for me to move. I had difficulty to move. My body was getting stiff. And she said to me, hey, you better call 911 while we still can. I said, yeah, that's right. I think that's a good idea. And I pushed myself to grab the phone. And I picked up the phone and I dialed 911 and they said, hello, how can we help you? And I said, this is the embarrassing part because I said, you know, we ate, I think we ate too much marijuana in a cake and I think we're dying. We feel like we're dying. Can you please come save us? And she said, okay, we'll send someone over right away. Now, what I didn't know is that if you call 911 and it's about a narcotic, they also call the police too.
Oh.
So the police came with them, and the police came first. And they came to my place, and then they were looking to charge me with something, but there was nothing to charge because there was no evidence. We had eaten all the cake. So so they left. Now get this. This is like at 4 in the morning, by the way.
Hmm.
So then the ambulance came. Now we lived on the third floor, and there was a stairwell that spiraled up. You had to go up around it to get to the third floor. And imagine, first thing, I was so happy when they arrived because by the time they arrived, my body was stiff. I couldn't move hardly,
Mm.
and my heart was trying to beat.
Right.
And now, when they brought us down in separate stretchers, I mean, the lights are flashing. This is at 4 in the morning. My neighbors on the first and second floor are looking through the window because they had a window. Each of them had a window right in front of the staircase. So they're looking at me, what happened to them? And we're being carried down. I mean, it looked like a scene out of Mick Jagger, David Bowie overdose or something. It looked crazy.
Hmm.
And so they put us in the ambulance and then took us to the hospital. Now, another strange thing that happened at the hospital was that as they were passing me by the reception, I saw my dead mother again. But this time she was looking through papers, looking for me. And she had on this shirt. She was part of a women's club.
Hmm.
They would play bingo together. It's about 10 women. They would play bingo together. They would go on trips together. And they all wore these special like shirts, you know, like club shirts or something that they were in this women's club. And she had that on. And as they passed by the reception and I saw her, I said, "That's strange. There's mom." Now, what I didn't realize was that I was so close to death at that moment. That's why I could see her just as clear as I see you right now.
Mm.
That's what I realized. And they took me to a room and they took my girlfriend to another room. And they gave me this black drink to drink. I thought it was tar, but it was later I found out it was charcoal.
Hmm.
Now she was in another room and I was in this room. And they left me because for some odd reason she was having some kind of other complication. And so they left me and I was in the room alone and they gave me this drink to drink. So I drank this drink. I sat on the hospital bed and then I drank this drink because I said, I'm going to be all right. I think I'm going to be all right. I think I'm going to be all right. So I drank this drink as fast as I can. Tastes horrible, man. Ugh. It's like you're drinking the street.
No.
Yeah. And so I drank this drink and then I I laid down on the bed and then I said, "Oh, I think I'm going to be all right." So I'm laying down, resting on my bed, and then all of a sudden, I start to hear my heart in my ear. And it starts to beat like this. Boom, 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 boom. And when it went that last beat, boom, I popped out of my body just like that, as if I was to pop out of this chair, just like that. I just popped out. And the first thing I said then was, "I'm out." And I'm looking at my body in the bed, but I'm standing next to it. And then I'm looking at my hand. And my hand, it's the best way to describe it is like this is probably for a lot of older people, but there used to be emergency broadcasting system that would come on when all the programs left the television
Hmm.
and the TV would go static. Now my hand looked similar to that. It was like a gray with a very light blue tint all around it. Kind of like this you see in the background of the earth. So you
Yeah.
see
Yeah. Yeah.
that light blue line? It was
Right.
like that, except that light blue line was around my hand, and my hand was like gray with that light blue light around it.
Let me ask you, with like the way you describe it, was it moving? Were the like the little like particles inside of your hand, were they moving?
No, no, but I mean, the reason why I use that analogy is because if you look into the static, there's different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but no, no, no. It was more like this light blue light around the earth.
Hmm.
But except imagine it around your hand and
Right.
imagine your hand is no longer the color. It's like a light gray.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm looking at my hand and I'm like, what? And then I hear this drop of water. Now, I don't know why, but for some reason, my curiosity was like at 1,000. Like for a soul, souls are very curious. So my curiosity was at 1,000, and I had a sink in my hospital room, and it was dripping a drop of water, broop, broop. And to a soul, a drop of water is the most amazing thing. I said, "Oh, a drop of water. Wow," And the minute I thought about the drop of water, my vision went straight to the drop of water and back. And then I said, and the other thing that happened after that was imagine, Kirby, if you don't ride a bike in 20 years and I give you a bike after 20 years, you're still going to be able to ride the bike, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, it was like that. It was like I was remembering. And I said, I want to stop time so I could see this water because it was dripping, drip, drip. And I just waved my hand across the air, just like I'm doing now, and the water froze in midair. Now, to a soul, that wasn't much. To me now, that was like, whoa, that's amazing. But on when I was in my soul body, that was nothing much. And I said, okay, now I would like to see that drop of water from every angle. And then I just opened my hand like that, and five of me appeared at the sink. One on the right, one on the left, one underneath, one looking at them, another one looking at them, and me looking at all of them. And I'm like, whoa.
It's
And then
fascinating.
I closed my hand like that, and they all sucked back up to me to one, like that. And I said, let me do that again. And I went, open it up, and then they all appeared right at the sink, same formation. And then I pulled it back, and they all sucked back up to me. And I started to do it faster. And they started like that. And then I said, I wonder if I do a little shake with my hand, will all five of me shake? And I opened my hand and I did a little shake like that. And they all appeared and they did a little shake like that. And I burst out laughing. I burst out laughing. And when I burst out laughing, it sounded like I was laughing in the Grand Canyon. Ha 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 ha. And it basically was turning into Bugs Bunny. It was just the powers that you have is just blew my mind. And after the laugh, I felt all of a sudden someone was watching me. And then I heard a voice. And this voice, it sounded like a parent, like, a parent at a playground. Like you would tell a child, hey, don't run around the corner too fast. You might fall. Well, this voice said to me, or God said to me, if you don't go back now, you might have to stay.
Hmm.
And I said, oh, yeah, that's right. My heart can't stay stopped. It's been 25 minutes at least. Yeah. And I had to think about it because everything was so wonderful over there. I was free. I felt you feel kind of the same as you do here, except maybe I felt like 10 pounds lighter, just a little bit lighter, but the exact same. I had the same personality. I love to make jokes. So I was joking over there, laughing my head off. So I had to think about it. And the other thing that I have to mention that was happening while I was out of my body was that think of it like an Alka-Seltzer. If you put Alka-Seltzer in the water, it dissolves, right?
Right.
Well, while I was over there, the longer I stayed out of my body, the more information was expanding. The longer it just kept expanding about everything, about life, about heaven, hell, Jesus, the Bible, angels, you name it, the earth. Why do we come here? Yeah, it's been everything. And so just to let everybody know that that was happening at the same time that I was doing all those things. So I said, I told myself I wanna still experience. I don't want to go into eternity yet. So I pointed myself at the body. Now, here's another thing, fascinating thing is that I never wanted to look at my face
Hmm.
because I was afraid that I was going to have some decrepit death look on my face. So, so I said, no, I don't want to look at my face. So I just looked at my leg and I knew I was standing up and my legs were in the bed. So I knew that I was out. So I pointed myself in the body and it's like you would dive into a pool. I just dove into the body and my heart did like a double beat like that and then started to beat and I was back in.
Hmm.
And the thing was, though, is that when I came back, I had all this information. I was allowed to keep it. And this information was totally the opposite of what I believed. I mean, and also I brought some gifts that I found out that I had that I didn't have before. Um, so the information I got was like, oh, for example, there's no right or wrong on the other side, only perception.
Hmm.
Um, there's no hierarchy. Jesus is not more closer to God than you are. Gabriel, the angel, is not more closer to God than you. Virgin Mary is not more closer to God than you. Mother Teresa is not more closer to God than you are. No hierarchy. Um, God loves you without judgment, unconditional love. Here's another thing. You're a part of God, but you also are a God with a big G. You can create a whole universe with just half a thought. You can have multiple lifetimes at the same time. Okay. Another thing I got was about the Bible. Not all, a lot of it is not true, sorry to say. It was manipulated by the church and by the government at the time, 2,000 years ago. And here's the other thing, people misunderstood Jesus' messages because the Bible was manipulated. But Jesus was also trying to tell you about this hierarchy. And he was saying, these works I do, but you will do greater. So he was trying to tell you that don't put me on a pedestal because you can do just as good as me or not better,
Hmm.
you see?
Right.
And the other thing is, we don't need a person to get to God because we're already a part of God. It's like imagine your finger and you're telling me that on your baby finger you need to talk with somebody else in order to feel your baby finger. It's already part of God. So why do you need to talk to somebody else to feel your baby finger?
Hmm.
You it's already a part of you.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So that's why they manipulated Christ's teachings. Christ wanted to bring the consciousness of the other side to this life. Now, this life, here's another thing, another download. This is a game. That's the thing I discovered too. When I first came out, I said, oh, I took this life too serious. It's actually a game created by other souls for souls to come here to experience what they're not and just to experience. It's not a school. It's not about soul evolution because your soul is perfect on the other side. So imagine, Kirby, you're on the other side, you're Superman, and you're surrounded by unconditional love for billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of years. And then one day you say, well, I wonder what it would feel like not to have all this power and not to have all this love. Oh yeah, the Earth game. Yeah, and it's temporary. I could play the Earth game. That's right. And then I could feel how it would feel not to have all this power and all this love. I could feel different things and yeah, I'm going to play the Earth game. Now, 50% of your life is planned already by your soul. Who your parents are going to be, what country, what you're going to be, what time you're going to be born in, who's your girlfriend going to be, who's the girl going to break your heart's going to be, who your enemy's going to be, who your best friend's going to be, who your dog, who your cat, who your children. all planned. Now, the other 50 is free will. Now, free will, you still have free will even on the planned stuff. So when these people that you have planned to come in your life, like your parents or you could run away from home and say they're not my parents anymore. You could break up with that girlfriend and say I want her as a girlfriend, or I don't want those kids anymore. I don't want that dog or cat. You have free will. Now, uh, we also got information about um, Christ and also the revelations. People got it all wrong because on the other side there is a what I call a Christ consciousness.
Hmm.
It's just under unconditional love. Okay. Now, this Christ consciousness, when they say, "Oh, Christ is coming back," the physical Christ is not coming back, but the way of thinking, Christ-like thinking is.
Okay.
Now, when I say that, because we get into the earth, now I have to tell you about the earth. The earth is a soul that agreed to play this game. Now, it decided it didn't want to play the game after a few billions of years, around 2012. So it started to rise in vibration. Now, it's going to leave 3D. Now, 3D is duality. That's why life felt good, then it felt bad. Then it felt good, then it felt bad. Then it felt good, then it felt bad. That's 3D. But in 5D, it's only going to feel good. Okay? So we're in transition right now. And the most important thing for people to know is that if you see the world and you say, well, it looks like everybody all of a sudden just went crazy, it's because the vibration of the whole planet has changed. It's rising. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that if you're doing logic, if I do this and I do that, that's going to happen. Well, now, not necessarily, because the vibration of the planet has changed. So, if you can't live your life on vibration, how can you live your life? If you can't, I'm sorry, if you can't live your life on logic, how can you live your life? That means you can live it on vibration.
Hmm.
There's only two vibrations, low or high. Now, high vibration, low vibration is fear, anger, hate, judgment, depression, fear, regret, jealousy. This is all low vibration. Now, what does low vibration do exactly? Well, low vibration makes things work difficult if they work at all. And also, it's very bad for your health. Now, that's low vibration. What is high vibration? High vibration is laughing, smiles, love, gratitude, forgiveness, nature, animals, babies, creating of any kind,
Hmm.
joy.
Right.
What does high vibration do exactly? Well, high vibration makes things work easier. High vibration brings any life goals that you have to happen quicker. High vibration also brings more money and more success. And the doctor will even tell you if you laugh more, high vibrations is great for your health.
Laughter's good for the soul.
Yes. Now, Kirby, it's not about being perfect.
Hmm.
Now, I'm gonna give you an example. Imagine a 3-year-old little boy. He runs down the street really, really fast, and then he falls. Bow! Then he screams. He feels that low vibration emotion. But a minute later, that same 3-year-old little boy is gonna be laughing. Why? Because he felt that low vibration emotion, but then he let it go. Where adults, they hold on to it for hours, days, weeks, years, even decades. So I tell all my clients, if you have to feel low vibration emotion, feel it, but then let it go. Because if you, the most mistakes that people make is that they hold on to low vibrations too long and they invoke what I call the law of attraction.
Hmm.
Now, the law of attraction is real on the other side, and it's also real on this side, but a little bit delayed. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, the other thing I got was about heaven and hell. Now, first thing, um, remember, you're a god, right? So when you're a god, let's say you're an atheist in this life. but you secretly fear that there might be a hell, and then you die. Well, the first thing you're going to experience is hell because actually you're the one who created it. Because whatever you think about and focus on in this life, you are creating on the other side. So let's say you go into this hell and now you're in hell. Once that happens, there's only two things that's going to happen. Either you're going to realize that, hey, it's me who created this place. I'm leaving. Or the other. And the other is, God, please help me. I'm in hell. And God comes and takes you out of your own creation. And then those people come back to life and I'm gonna be a good Christian now because, you know, I was out of hell. But the thing is, if I go by the Bible, you're never supposed to get out. So
That's right.
why is hundreds of people coming back with testimonies? I've been to hell and I'm out. Why? Because they're the ones who created hell. Now I'm going to tell you something. If God created hell, no one would get out. No one. But God is only love. God gives you free will. So if you want to create that, you can create it. But he will take you out of it if you want his help. And it's the same for heaven. Heaven, people think, oh, nobody's going to be able to get into heaven. And they really believe in that because you're a God. So what you believe, so be it. So they die and they go to heaven and they see Jesus, they see Virgin Mary, a few angels, and then nothing is happening. They realize there's nothing going on here. And nobody's there because they thought nobody could get into heaven. And they realize, oh, I think I'm the one that created this place. There's nothing going on here. So the thing is, because you're a God, you have to be what you experience on the other side is a lot of the creations that you believed in.
Hmm.
Okay. And everything goes gradual. It does not like you get on the other side and automatically you know everything. It goes gradually. My mother had been dead almost 2 weeks and she couldn't come back to the earth plane. She needed an escort, you see.
That's something that I've always thought about. It's like when, um, so just to give my audience a little bit of a background on me,
Hmm.
I'm new to my spiritual journey. So I've only been in my spiritual awakening, happened about 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And I always wondered that when somebody passes away, how is there like a processing time, before they can actually come back to let their loved ones know? Because I've done, readings myself, and I sensed that sometimes when people have passed away recently, they
Hmm.
don't really show up until I think a couple of weeks, like you said, maybe like 2 weeks later. The escort, that is interesting that she had to be escorted to come back. So would you say that that's something that happens with people who have passed recently? Take some time.
Definitely, definitely, because it's an adjustment period. Now, some people, there is no religion on the other side.
Hmm.
It's the real religion is love.
Right.
But to make you comfortable when you go on the other side, if you're in a religion, you may see Allah, you may see Buddha, you may see Christ, you may see all these different figures to make you more comfortable.
Right.
But it's not to say that these figures are God,
Hmm.
because we all are part of God. So we all are gods. So that's another thing. We're part of God, but we also are God, are a God, a Godhead. So this is important for people to know. Everybody has a process, but and the other thing is that when people lose someone, a lot of times they're grieving very hard. And it's very hard for a soul to turn to someone who's grieving because they're at a low vibration. Remember, I told
Mm,
you,
right, right,
sadness, depression, that's low vibration.
right.
And they're at a high vibration. So it's imagine a radio station and you're trying to tune in a radio station, but the person is changing their mind because they're depressed and their mind is all over the place. It's like you're changing the dial on a radio. You keep changing the station, so we can't get a station.
Right.
That's why deceased people they try to come and see you when you're asleep, because that's when your mind slows down. That's when the radio station stays on one station.
Right. Wow. You mentioned when you first had your first spiritual experience with your mother, and you said that you had the sun come into your room, and the two lights came in.
Yes,
You said you kind of had to keep it all to yourself. Like you're like, man, I had this spiritual
yes.
experience, but I can't share that with anyone. So, what moment would you say was when you're like, you know what, I'm going to talk about it now because I'm going to let people know? Because
Well, that, yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
So I wanted to ask you that because for me it was like I'll be honest with you, telling my family, that I'm going through this spiritual journey was not easy, but it was actually it actually turned out to be easier than I expected. I thought for sure I
Mhm.
was going to get a lot of like, oh no, he went off the deep end, like you mentioned.
Yes.
So I had to ask you, it was like, at what point did you get to that point where you're like, you know what, I'm going to let the world know my journey and I'm open about it at this point.
Okay. Well, the thing was, like I told you, I came back with some gifts that I didn't know I had. Um, because after I passed away and came back, I had all this information, and but I still said, my colleagues, my people I work with, they're gonna think I'm crazy now. So I said, I'm not telling nobody about this. I'm gonna try to go back to normal life. I gotta try to go back to normal life. So I went with my band. We did a gig in Mont Roland in Canada. It's in Canada. And it's a new club, and it was a snowstorm. And there was nobody. It was a gig during the day. So there was nobody in the club except two waitresses. And we were having our beers. And so I said, we were bored. So I said, hey, waitress, come on over here. I didn't know them from a hole in the wall. And I said, give me your left hand. I'm going to tell you your future for fun. And I took her left hand and I said, your boyfriend is paraplegic. And I said, he blames you for his handicap, even though it's not your fault. I said, 3 months from now, you're going to meet somebody and you're going to fall in love with that person. And in another 3 months, you're going to marry that man. And I just let her hand go and finish my beer. And one thing I noticed that she didn't say a word while I was talking to her, but I didn't pay it no mind. Now, a year later, I came to play that same club. And this waitress ran up to me and she said, hey, did you know that everything you said was true, came true? I said, no way. I said, no way. I said, your boyfriend was paraplegic? She said, yes. I said, he blamed you for his handicap even though it wasn't your fault? She said, yes. I said, you met a guy 3 months later and fell in love? She said, yes. And I said, 3 months after that, you got married? And she didn't even say yes. She showed me the wedding ring.
Wow.
And when she did, man, the bumps went up my arm like that. And I said, oh my God, what's happening? Am I turning into an alien? And yeah, and my band said, hey man, what's going on with you? You turning into Nostradamus? I said, I don't know what's going on with me. And so that was one thing that happened. Then it happened again. Now, when we do gigs, we usually go to what I call an after hours. After hours place is a club that stays the after party. It stays
Right.
open, past 2 to like 10 in the morning.
Right.
Okay, you still can get your drinks, but it's an after hours place. So at this after hours place, we had some friends that were bouncers and they were cool with us. They loved the band, they were cool. And this one particular bouncer, cool people, I had this impression on Wednesday that this person shouldn't go out this weekend. And I said, and it stayed with me like a cloud over my head. And I said, yeah, but this guy is huge, man. Nobody's gonna mess with him. I'm gonna tell you, stay in the weekend. Do not go out. He's gonna think I'm nuts. I said I can't tell him that, but this feeling was so strong. And so I went on Friday, did my gig, and we went to the after hours. Saw him there. He seemed okay. Everything was okay. I wanted to tell him, but then I said, nah, They're gonna think I'm nuts, so I won't tell him. So I didn't tell him. And then that's a Sunday came. We did a gig, and we went to the after hours. And we went there. This time he was not there, and it was another bouncer there, and he had tears coming down his face. And I said, "Hey man, what's wrong?" He said, "You didn't hear?" I said, "No, hear what?" He said, "The bouncer is dead." I said, "What? He's dead?" I said, "How?" He said he met a girl on Saturday night and he took her to a hotel after, and she waited till he fell asleep and took a butcher knife and started slashing his throat. He woke up, he tried to stop her, but he had lost too much blood, and he went unconscious and died. And I had to go to his funeral.
Wow.
And ever since then, I said to myself, never again. If I get an impression for the President of the United States, I'm going to tell him. I don't care if they think I'm crazy or
Hmm.
not. And that's when I was beginning to make the decision that I can't run away from who I am now.
Right.
And I was watching Jeff Mara,
Right. Jeff Mara.
and
Yeah.
he had a girl on there on his show, and she was pretty cute. I said, "Oh, she's cute. Let's see what she has to say." And so I watched her, and she was doing some Ananosca trip, but some of the things she said was a little bit similar to what I had experienced. So I wrote him and I said, "Hey, man, that was a great guest you had on there." And I said her experiences sounded a little bit similar to some experiences I had. And he wrote me back, which I didn't expect him to do because he has so many followers.
Right.
He said, "Well, why don't you come on my show and tell us your experiences?" And I said, "Why not?" And I did, and then I went. From that point on, I went because I knew that I can't hide who I am because all these things are happening. And I have all this information, man, that could help people about vibrations, about where we are now, the transition, the timelines. Oh, I have so much information that can help people in their life in this transition. So I decided I don't care what my musician friends and colleagues think about me anymore. I said, I'm just going to tell the truth, and that's it. And they can take it for what they want. I know I'm a nice guy. If they think I'm a crazy one, then that's their
Then so
opinion.
be it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's when I went, and Jeff was my first, and then I went on Next Level Soul and Melissa and Wisdom from the North and so many others. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I found you. I found you on Jeff Mara, right? And then I remember my wife was like, "Look, he's on Next Level Soul too," and I was like, "Oh wow!" So, yeah, so I remember I was just like thinking, one day I was like, "I'm gonna interview him," but at that time I was just kind of like talking like just wishful thinking, right? And here
Mm,
we are now talking about that.
exactly.
Yeah, and again, in gratitude myself, and I hear you, like when you say, low vibration, it's hard.
Mhm.
I have learned that too, that spirits sometimes won't connect because if you're in a low vibration, you're going to miss anything that they're sending your way. But I need to ask you this question because some people who haven't had a near death experience, they want something tangible, something that they can connect with, so that they can connect with their spiritual side. What do you suggest to somebody who hasn't had a near death experience, maybe doesn't realize the signs are there, they're getting messages, but just not paying attention to them? How do they
Well,
connect to their spiritual side?
there's a couple ways. First thing, nature.
Nature.
If you go sit under a tree for 1 hour, your vibration will rise. If you meditate, when you're meditating, and the more you do it, the more you're connecting with your soul when you quiet your mind. Like I told you about that radio station.
Hmm.
Well, that's why they tell you to quiet your mind because your radio dial is moving all the time. So that's why I say meditate so you can quiet your mind. That silence is golden.
Right.
The golden is the soul. When you're silent, that's when you connect with the soul. So I would suggest that they do that and do it more often. and be more often on higher vibrations,
Hmm.
because high vibrations will lead you to a spiritual connection because you'll begin to see and feel source around you and the source that's in you.
Yeah. And I have people, I've talked to people and I tell them the same thing. I try to quiet my mind. I know meditation is tough. It's like a workout. Sometimes it's very hard to quiet the mind. Sometimes I fall asleep, and
Yeah,
then,
but it's not about doing it for long periods of time. It can be for 5 or 10 minutes.
hmm
But it's more of the question of some people need more time to quiet their mind.
hmm
But it's not because, oh, I did it for 2 hours and now I'm more connected than you who did it for 10 minutes. No.
right.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
do you say also to people who are like, how do I know I'm experiencing something real versus the imagination? Because sometimes people kind of doubt, it's like, well, I think it's
Well,
just
first thing, we
coincidence.
all have we all have guides.
Hmm.
But and also, you know, you have to be open because we can make a coincidence out of everything,
It's true.
you know? Because the thing is, what you focus on, you're creating because you're a God. So if you focus on doubt, well, then you're going to find more things to doubt.
Hmm.
If you focus on hate, you're going to find more things to hate about. If you focus on love, you're going to find more things to love. It's your focus. So, but I suggest people nature, I suggest meditation, because that quiets your mind so you can connect with your soul. And it's going to take time to connect with your soul. And also, you have angels and guides around you 24 hours a day.
Hmm.
So if you ask them, let's say you say, okay, if this is real, if I have a guardian angel, this week, make a blue butterfly come in my world.
Hmm.
And I guarantee you that a blue butterfly will come in your world.
Right.
Either it'll be on somebody's t-shirt, either somebody will say, yes, and I was walking and then I saw this blue butterfly. That's a spirit way to let you know that, hey, we're communicating now.
And it doesn't necessarily have to literally be like a blue butterfly,
It could
like
be anything.
flying.
It
It
could
could
be
be
anything.
anything.
It could be a penny. It could be a penny on the floor. It could
Right.
be anything you asked.
Oh no, no, but I'm saying like let's say the blue butterfly example, right? The blue
Hmm.
butterfly may show up in a picture, right? Or in
Right,
a
exactly.
TV, you're
Yeah,
watching
exactly.
something and all of a
Exactly.
sudden
That's
blue butterfly
exactly.
shows up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because they're in a spiritual world. They're not going to bring it to you always in the exact human way that you expect.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, but they will bring it to you.
Yeah, that happened to me recently. A person passed away, and I just wanted to make sure they were okay. And I said, I want to see a blue jay. And I waited. So that's why I was like wondering about, people, sometimes it takes a while for them to process before they can come back. And then my wife and I are watching a movie, and in the movie, there's the blue jay. And then that
Hmm.
night, I dreamt and he came to me and he said, hey, like he showed me that he was fine, that everything was okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
what I just said.
Yeah.
See, you're confirming all that I just said.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I just
In your
like to,
sleep and all that. Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So then, so another question I have for you is the Earth, right? You mentioned the Earth is its own
Yes.
soul, and that we're
Hmm.
moving to a 5D world. Now, would you say, and I've heard you said this in other shows, that we would be able to talk to the animals, we would be able to talk to plants. What like would we be able to do like the spiritual gifts like you had mentioned when you were in the hospital and you were able to see a drop of water with like five different angles? Would that be something that we would be able to do in this 5D world, or would it be
Okay,
more?
I'll be more specific about 5D. Okay, what the life you're having now, can
Hmm.
you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
The life you're having now is a small piece of your soul's fingernail
Wow.
that's
Small.
powering your life. In 5D, you're going to have 20% of your soul's power in the physical consciousness. What that means, you know how powerful you're going to be? You won't need your iPhone anymore because you'll have telepathy. You'll be able to talk to rocks, plants, people, water, air.
Hmm.
You'll be able to create matter through thought. You'll be able to visit the other side and come back. Now, a guy named Darius J. Wright is already teaching people how to do
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've
The
seen him.
plant,
Yeah.
the planet is rising in vibration. So it's all coming true. So, um, Yeah, so this is the kind of power you'll have. There'll be no killing of animals, plants, or people. If you want to think about a McDonald's double cheeseburger, you can think of one and it'll appear, but no animal will be killed, and it'll be the most healthiest burger you ever ate.
You won't gain weight either.
No.
Oh, that's that. I mean, that sounds great. I
Yeah.
know, do you foresee like a time when the
Well,
shift would
the
happen?
that's just the thing that I tell people. That's why I tell people to make a list of 10 things that automatically make you happy.
Mm,
The first one I tell them is nature. If you live near a park, an ocean, a tree, a river, you sit under the tree for 1 hour, your vibration rises automatically. The other nine things would be personal to you. Could be your favorite ice cream, could be a funny movie, could be a friend that makes you laugh, could be a good book, could be a cartoon. Now, me, I have the same list as I'm telling my clients, and my number two is Bugs Bunny.
Bugs
If
Bunny.
I wake up in the morning and I'm afraid about where, let's say, where the government may be going or the president is going, that's fear. And when I have fear, your emotions, Kirby, is your thermometer to tell you whether you're going on high vibrations or low vibrations.
Hmm.
So you can't say, well, I don't know what vibration I'm on. How do you feel? When you ask yourself, how do you feel? If you feel good, you know you're on high vibrations. If you don't feel so good, then you know you're on low vibrations. And you should do one of the 10 things on your list. Me, when I wake up, if I wake up in fear about the government or about whoever, uh, that's fear. So I do look at my number two, which is Bugs Bunny. I watch it for 15 minutes. I'm laughing back on high vibrations.
Hmm.
And it's not about being perfect again. It's about knowing what to do if you find yourself on low vibrations. Because that's why I tell people be like the child. You know, the child, uh, if he falls, he's going to feel that. He's not going to say, I fell. I'm going to try to be happy and I'm not going to ignore that feeling.
Right.
That's
Hmm.
wrong.
Hmm.
Feel your If you have to feel negative vibration, emotion, feel it, but then let it go,
Let it go. Hmm.
like the child.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so it's interesting. You mentioned, you ate brownie pop, or pop brownie,
Cake,
right?
cake, cake,
Oh,
cake,
cake. Sorry, a
chocolate
cake.
cake. Yeah.
And they always say, you can't die of marijuana, but apparently you can. So I guess you're living proof that you can die.
Oh, definitely. If you have enough and it's strong enough, yes.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because I've heard so many people say you can't die off of marijuana. Well,
Yeah, well, he
I
hasn't
beg to
taken
differ.
mine. I definitely beg to differ because, like I said, there's so much your body can take.
Hmm.
Now, people think, oh, yeah, I can take because you haven't really had that much.
Right.
But what I had in that cake was probably an overdose of it. And what it did was it slowed my body down, my function,
Hmm.
to the point where my heart couldn't beat anymore.
Right. Yeah. So I was going to ask you, with when it comes to alcohol and weed, I think people kind of associate weed with, like, if you feel more in tune with, I guess, like spirit, or you're able to calm your mind. So it's better for you to meditate with that. Whereas alcohol, I keep seeing, people saying alcohol just lowers your vibration, so it's best not to do it. But what's your opinion on that with alcohol and weed?
Well, marijuana can open the door to spirituality as long as it's done moderately,
Hmm.
not taking it every day. And marijuana can be medicine,
Okay.
but if taken in the wrong context, like I did, wrong context, like I did, then it can be deadly, like
Right.
anything.
Hmm.
If you do too much of anything, too much salt can kill you.
That's true. That's true.
Too much too much sugar can kill you. So take it in the right context. As far as alcohol goes, it's it's not, you don't really need alcohol to feel good,
Hmm.
you see. I mean, you can have a toast at holiday or whatever, but I wouldn't suggest to do that all the time because yes, it can open the door spiritually, but it's a controlled experience.
Hmm.
And it's the same with these. Ananasqua and all these other things. It's like if I put you on a roller coaster ride and you ride through the other side, but you're in a controlled ride.
Right. Yeah.
It's taking you where it wants to take you, not where you want to go.
Hmm. So you're kind of just the observer. You're not really
Yeah,
in
exactly,
anything.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah. And then you mentioned life. We take it too seriously here on Earth, and life is a game. Now, you mentioned that, we pick our parents, we pick our pets, we pick our friends, and even our
Hmm.
girlfriends or
Right.
boyfriends, So when we do that, do we, like, is there like like you said, it's not really, there's no soul, like as far as like growth, right? You're not here for growth. You're really here just to kind of like experience. Is there a soul, I mean, like, is there a soul journey? Because I know that you said your mom appeared and she gave you two different timelines where you could kill the bouncer or you could, you go to jail or you die, right? But here's a
Right.
third option. So I have to ask, like,
Hmm.
when do, like, at what points do, like, even though this is a game, but clearly your mom was able to kind of like put you in a different timeline, what points do we have, like, maybe that we're like, oh, maybe we're meant for something different, maybe our roles are different than what we thought, so like I wanted you to talk a little bit on that, like our purpose, even though you're saying our purpose is really just more to just experience here, but is
Well,
there times
basic.
where maybe our
Well,
purpose is something else?
well, the thing is, you have to understand. You came here, everybody comes here for different reasons because they want to experience certain things.
Hmm.
Some people came here, they want to experience power, but in the physical body. They had it
Okay.
on the other side, but they want to feel. I'm born a billionaire. Okay.
Right.
Some people, they want to experience poverty because I'm rich on the other side. Been
Mm.
rich for billions of years, and I want to see what this other side would look like. So they experience that. So everybody has a different experience that they planned.
Hmm.
Okay, and but it's not like a school or some kind of medal you get. It's more like when you come back from this life and you come back on the other side, and you let's say you have another friend, or another soul who's a friend on the other side, and they didn't play the Earth game.
Hmm.
Now, the experience you have on the earth, that's with you all the time. Okay. Now your friends, you'll be like the new movie on the block when you come on the other side, because they all gonna want to exchange energy with you to experience how it was to be you.
Oh, wow.
But
Hmm.
they can only do it through you to experience it because you
Mm.
have the original McCoy. Okay. But it doesn't mean that you are better or more informed. It's like I say, the number one or the number seven, which one is better? You
Yeah.
can't say that because they're
Hmm.
both different. They're just different. That's all. It's not better.
Yeah.
Seven's not better than one. One is not better than seven.
So, I think you also mentioned like you have free will, right? 50% free will. So I wonder, like at some point some people probably want to experience certain, like you said, certain things they want to experience.
Hmm. Hmm.
So is there maybe like a fail safe, like, okay, if I chose, my free will is taking me over here, I need you to kind of come into my life and put me back in this direction. Um does that happen?
Well, you have all is possible, but you have a certain plan.
Hmm.
Or you have also what I call exit points.
Exit points, yes.
Now, an exit point is like you're on the phone, man, and you took 10 minutes too long and you're supposed to go to work. You're late now, 10 minutes to work. But had you been on time that day, you would have been in an accident in the intersection because
Hmm.
somebody ran a red light.
Right.
Or you were on the phone and you were talking too long with your wife, and you were supposed to catch a plane and you missed that flight, and now that plane had crashed.
Hmm.
Those are exit points.
Now, can you change the exit point? Like if you're, I would say, I think
You
if you're
can't
not
change
aware.
you can't necessarily change the exit point, but you don't have to go. No.
Hmm. No, because I was going to say, I was like, when you're spiritually awakened, are we a little bit more aware of our potential exit points?
Well, when you're spiritually awakened, you are more in control because you're more in control of your vibration.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like, oh, I don't know, all of a sudden you know, it's not like that unless there is some plans, but not for about death. Death is something that um, souls will know already,
Hmm.
and they can make up their mind like me. I, I'm sure I planned that near death experience, but I also had the choice if I wanted to stay or go
Hmm.
back, you see?
Yeah. I
You
mean, I guess
always have free will. You always have free
free
will.
will. Yeah.
Don't ever think that you don't have free will and even in the game. You do.
Yeah.
Even with the 50% that you had already planned. Like I told you, you don't have to be that husband. You don't have to have those kids. You don't have to have that dog or cat. You don't
Yeah.
have to have that best friend. You can say, no, I don't want it.
Hmm.
Free will.
Yeah. I guess I remember just one, I was driving to work one day. I remember
Hmm.
my intuition was telling me, stay in the lane. Don't, I'm driving on the highway and I'm going about 60, 65, but the guy in front of me was going slow. And I felt like the guides were like, just my intuition was like, don't don't switch lanes, And sure enough, I decided, you know what, I'm going to switch lanes anyway. And an accident happened, and I luckily narrowly avoided it. But I was just like thinking, I was like, I should have just listened, And I just know now that I was like, I need my intuition is telling me for a reason. Like I shouldn't just necessarily
Yeah, it's
ignore
your
it.
spirit voice. It's your
Yeah,
soul voice. The first thought. It's your soul voice.
yeah.
And
So
yeah.
yeah, so that's why I thought it was interesting, because I guess everybody has certain interpretations about our role here on Earth, and I like that your interpretation about 50% planned, 50% free will, but you can always decide, yeah, I
Well,
don't want to do that.
that's what I got in my downloads.
Yeah,
And I
yeah, yeah.
also got here's another one that throws people for a loop. There is no karma.
Mm, mm-hmm.
It's law of attraction. If you're, let's say you're a murderer for the mafia, now that is a vibration. It's like a radio station. Now you can kill people, but you also can be killed because you're on that vibration, that killing vibration.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. It's not because, oh, you did it in another life and now you have to be punished. Because I told you, God does not punish anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Only love, man.
Right.
So,
So, now another question that I kind of just came up with was like, you mentioned we're in a low vibration
mhm.
environment, so it's hard for us to connect with our loved ones or spiritual guides. Now, so I have to ask, like, people always want to manifest. Like you said, we're creators, right? But we're in a low vibration. And you mentioned something that a lot of people have not really mentioned, that sometimes, since we're in a low vibration, it takes some time. So if somebody's like saying, okay, you know what, I'm a creator, I'm going to get this job, I'm going to, find this person to be the love of my life. What are your what do you tell them when they're getting frustrated? Like, I've been doing everything, I'm trying to be positive, but nothing's coming. Because honestly, I didn't really think about the fact that we are low vibration. So yes, certain things would take their time coming over here. What do you suggest to people who are kind of like frustrated with things not coming their way?
okay, well, here's an update. First thing, the planet is rising in vibration now. It is not on the same vibration it was before,
Hmm.
10 years ago. So it's on a higher vibration. But imagine you have a negative and positive battery. When you try to put them together, they repel.
Yeah.
So imagine a person that's on low vibration all the time or most of the time, but they're on a planet that's rising in vibration. So what's happening to that person on a low vibration? They're going crazy.
Hmm.
They're going unstable. Now as far as manifestation is when you let go the wheel and you ask Source, I would like to have this or that. That's when Source kicks in. Because if you try to do things because it's not happening fast enough for you, you get in the way of Source. And Source says, okay, you have free will. I let you do it. If you want to do it that way, you do
Hmm.
it. But
Right.
if you had to let me do it, it would have been like this.
Hmm.
You see? So, and manifestation and all of that, it's all about, again, vibration. If you're in high vibration most of the time, like I said, all your life goals, whatever that is for you, will happen quicker because you're more often on high vibration. If you change the vibration to higher, watch your life change.
It's
Just
true.
watch it. Just
Yeah.
watch it. It's going to change.
Hmm.
And if you're more conscious of what you say, low vibration conversations, stay away from the news so much.
Hmm.
Watching the news is low vibration. And what's the story you're telling yourself? Are you telling yourself a positive story? Things are working out great for me. Or are you telling yourself a low vibration story? Oh, things never happen for me. This never looks like it's never going to happen. Da, da, da. That's a low vibration story. What you say and what you think is a 24-hour prayer to the universe.
Hmm.
And once you know that, then you want to change the story because reality is not creating you. You are creating reality
Reality.
by the vibrations you choose every day.
Right. And I think I had that confused at first when I first started my spiritual journey. I started watching all these videos and I'm like, okay, this is what I got
Mhm.
to do. And then I'm like, but nothing's happening. So now I'm more in tune. You know, even when I talk about spirituality, people are just like, you seem so calm, you seem at peace, you know.
Mhm.
And it's true. I've never felt this way until recently. And I mean, yes, there are days where I'm like, I'm tired, you know, but I have
Yeah.
to kind of break through that, you know, I have to kind of push forward. And it's something that I enjoy because it's like, sometimes I'm like, yes, it's low vibration, but I also see it as like, okay, it's my challenge and I got to find ways to navigate through my challenge. And like you said before, I believe you said, you know, when something comes your way, you know, you can choose to let it eat you up and then, or there's ways where you can kind of go around it, you know. And I wanted to ask you this, and I think that's why I interrupted you earlier, was when you talked about your hands. You know, I had, and this is a question for me, I need to ask you this question because I was like, maybe
Okay.
you can help me with this one. So
Uh-huh.
a few years ago, I did, you know, see, this is what I do remember doing a meditation. This was before I got spiritual. And I was
Right.
listening to music and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna send love to the space, to the stars, to the planets. And I
Mhm.
remember that very vividly. And then I fell asleep. And then when I woke up, I was on the ceiling. I'm not afraid to tell this story anymore. I was on the ceiling and I was an
Mhm.
orb, and he showed me. And at the time, my wife was next to me, and I saw my
Mhm.
son too, because my son was a
Mhm.
toddler at the time, and I could
Right.
see their outline, just like you said, you know, like the background that you have. I
Yes,
could see the
exactly.
outline of their bodies, and I saw what looked like stars. You know, it was like these
Mhm.
little
Mhm.
stars that were just moving around. And then the
Mhm.
orb talked to me, and it was probably like a 2 minute conversation because it felt like time was like did not exist at that moment.
Right.
And he just told me very matter of fact. It was just like, here, you know, you're going to pop back into your body, and in about 15, 20 seconds your wife is going to, well, he didn't say 15, 20, he just said exactly 20
Yeah.
seconds she's going to, your wife is going to wake up choking, you're going to calm her down. And then, you know, I don't remember the third thing that he did tell me, something else, but it was just very
Mhm.
matter of fact.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
whoop, I popped back in, and then all of a sudden, you know, sure enough, 20 seconds later, my wife is choking, you know, from her dream that she was, you know, having.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, man, how do I do this again? I was like, I always wanted to figure out how to go back and do that. And I was just like, I don't know. I was like, part of me feels like I can do it. You know, it's like a muscle, you know, try to figure out how to, you know, go back and talk to the orb. I don't know if the orb was my spirit guide or if it was God or a loved one. You know, I couldn't tell. But to be honest with you, that was kind
Mhm.
of what set me on this trajectory of like trying to figure out what was that all about. And that kind of led me to the spiritual journey that I'm in now. But I just wanted to ask you, I was like, is that something I could work on to do again, you know, or is that just kind of
Well,
like
for
more?
sure, for sure you probably could do a similar thing again, but it's when you're more conscious and your intentions.
Mhm.
What was your intention?
Oh, I remember the intention was just to spend, you know, spread love through the
Yeah, well,
universe.
see, no,
Yeah.
well, no, you can do it again, but
Hmm.
when you do it, you have to be relaxed about it and don't expect anything, and that's when it'll happen. When
Okay.
you
Okay.
relax, when you allow.
When you allow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, when you allow, that means allowing source to take over. And sometimes you're just shown that it's not for that. necessarily that particular situation to reoccur all the time.
Hmm.
But maybe a different one will reoccur. That'll be even more intense. It's like that. It's always for the better for you.
Hmm.
But you tapped into it because all the elements were right. Your mind, your intention was right. You weren't expecting.
Hmm. That's true. I wasn't
You
expecting
see,
anything.
and you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's why I say go into it, don't expect anything. And that's when everything comes.
Okay. Really helpful. So I wanted to also just a couple more questions. Your readings, you mentioned readings, and you said you did readings for the waitress there. With that, unexpectedly, everything was true.
Mhm.
So what kind of readings do you do now for
Well, I
your
read
clients?
energy, and they can reach me at truthenergyreadings.com. I hope you're going to put that in your
Yes, I will. I will
and
definitely put
your
that.
and your subscriptions. Also, I do healings.
Hmm.
People have I've done with cancer, with suicides, with a lot of different things, and I found that that's very helpful, and people have been healed. I also do um, when I do an energy reading, it can be about partners, loved ones. It could be about your health. It could be about work. In the energy reading, you can ask me anything, but I go into your energy to get the answer. It's not like I have the answer.
Hmm.
I go in your energy and ask your soul the same question you ask me, and I get an answer because I can read it. And I bring it back and I give it to you.
And you can do that also, virtually as well. You're able to draw in
Yeah,
that
I
energy.
do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I used to do it with just holding the person's left hand, like the waitress.
Hmm.
But I found that I could do it through the internet. I tried it and it worked. And I said, "Oh, it's right. It's correct. It works." So I do it now through Zoom or Skype.
Hmm.
And also, I'm giving a retreat October 13th to the 20th. 4 days will be in a boutique hotel in front of the Nile River, and another 3 days will be on a ship with your own room on the Nile River. There'll be meditation, there'll be yoga, there'll be holotrophic breathing, and guided tours to temples with special energy places, and energy readings from me, Q&A, and there's also I'll be performing music.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is happening. If people go, there's a discount if you order now because we have like I think only maybe 4 places left. Just to tell your public, if they're interested in that, they just go to truthenergyreadings.com, readings with an S, but I'm gonna write it in your chat so you'll have it.
Yeah, please do, because I will share that with my audience. I'll definitely have it on the link on my YouTube for this video, and
Okay, now you'll have it in your chat.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
also people can contact me at my email, easybulock at hotmail.com.
Easypulluk at hotmail.com. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
how I got in contact with you. And maybe I should have been higher vibration about a year and a half ago, and I would have had this interview a lot sooner. But now
And
it's like, yeah, now I'm like,
it's divine timing. It happened
right,
at the perfect time.
yes.
I gotta tell your audience, be like that child, the 3-year-old little boy. 3-year-old little boy doesn't want his ice cream yesterday. He doesn't want his ice cream tomorrow. He wants his ice cream now. And guess what? He's correct. He lives in the present
He lives in the
moment.
present. Yeah. That's a good analogy. I think that's something also, when I've done readings for people too, I do talk about inner child. I do use the cards. I use tarot cards, and
Yes, yes, yes.
and the sun, to me is like that's your inner child. It's like that you got to
Yes,
open it up. And that's something I
exactly.
learned recently too. It's that as a medium, and that's something I'm just now tapping into. But it's like I have to use it like my inner child. So if something pops up, I have to say it. But if it's something that I think about, it just kind of fades away, like a dream, right? When you remember, you write it
Exactly.
down, you
Exactly.
remember it. But you do have to have this childlike sense of wonder, and that's when things start to really start to move forward for you. So yeah, so again, I should have been into my inner child before. We would have had this interview a long time ago, and I've been like, I'm gonna reach out to him. I don't care, I don't have a channel yet, but I'm gonna do it. And here
Well,
we are.
well, here
Yeah.
we are, and divine timing is great, and I'm very happy that you reached out
Yeah.
and that I'm on the show and also that I'm your first guest. So that makes me
Yes.
very
Yeah.
honored, my friend.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So yeah, so what I want to tell the people, we are in transition now. And okay, and we're going to go to two different timelines. Okay. What is the timeline? Timeline is an option that exists in the universe. Like a timeline exists that you went to the store instead of having this conversation with me. Now that's in the universe. Or or have you ever put your keys on the table and 2 hours later you come back, look on that table and the keys are not there. And you're looking all around your place for the keys. You can't find them. You come back another 2 hours and then there's the keys. That's a timeline shift. Now, when my downloads, we change timelines every 3 minutes, so it's not a big deal, but we're just not conscious of it. Now, when the Earth does her shift into two different timelines, think of it like this, Kirby. If you stand in front of a wall, you have you and you have your shadow, right?
Right.
The shadow will be the copy of the Earth, and the real Earth will be in 5D.
Hmm.
And it's not going to be like, I went to sleep and millions disappeared. No, it's going to happen gradually, like going from winter to summer.
Okay.
Okay, the earth is just asking all the souls, what vibration do you want to be on? Because once she makes that shift, you'll be stuck on the vibration that you're on until you leave the game. So if you're on a low vibration when she makes that shift, you go to 3D. If you're on a high vibration when you make that shift, you go to 5D.
Hmm.
Okay, and God doesn't care either way. If you Kirby goes to 3D, oh, he took the long road home, but he's coming home. If Kirby goes to 5D, oh, he took the short road home, but he's coming home. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I will make sure I get on that shortcut home, and then try to get others to join me as well too.
Yeah, and I also tell people stay away from low vibration conversations. That's what friends, family, partner, and also you want to protect your vibrational environment. It's
Hmm.
the most important thing, your vibrational environment. And the thing is, if people realize and stay away from logic, because if you go with logic now, you're going to lead to the road called insanity because a lot of people are not doing what they're supposed to do. So you can't do what you're supposed to do because the whole vibration of the planet has changed. So you can't live on logic, but you can live on vibration.
How do you protect your vibration, if you don't mind me asking? Just
Well, you can protect your vibration first thing by not putting yourself into places where there's not of negative energy.
okay.
People that make you feel uncomfortable, being in an uncomfortable situation or a low vibration situation. If you know there's going to be trouble, you're not going to hang out at a particular place. Could be anywhere. Party, you go into a room and you feel vibes.
Right.
You see,
Yeah. You
that's a
feel the
low
vibes.
vibration. Exactly. You
Yeah.
feel the vibes and you say, this don't
Not
feel
for
right.
me. Right.
So you leave. That's protecting your vibrational environment. Or being with family or relatives and they're talking only negative stuff. Everything is bad. I hate this person. I hate that person. My car broke down. My wife left me. But da, 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 da. Nothing out of their mouth is able to be positive.
Yeah.
This is low vibration environment. That's why I say stay away from low vibration environment. Be selfish about your vibrational environment.
Hmm.
You want to be around people that inspire you. That's loving. That's kind.
Yes. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, makes sense. That's something that I'm glad you mentioned that. That's really going to be helpful for people who are like me, starting out in their journey, and then others who kind of lead to know, like what is it do I have to do, and that makes all sense right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Dennis, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you
Okay.
again for
Yes, it's
being
a
my
pleasure.
guest, my first guest. And again, in gratitude and joy, the fact that I was able to reach out to you. It was very easy to get in touch with you. I will share that information with everyone on my channel, and I will just say one last thing before we go. Thank you for joining me here on Spirit Said So. Until next time, may these stories continue to open your heart and expand your mind and inspire your journey. Thank you.